Hey everyone, Cash here, back with another video from Madden 16, and today we take a final look at season number 1 in our franchise with the Oakland Raiders. We missed out on the playoffs, unfortunately, but let's take a look at the final stats here. Derek Carr, 3,100 yards passing, 20 TDs, 11 interceptions. He did miss 3 or 4 games because of injury, so Matt McGloin did perform okay his first game and then kind of regressed as the season went on. So you take a look at these final stats, 65% passing for Carr, a good season for him, even though it was a bummer he missed a couple games. Latavius Murray, 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns. He started the season out very well, but as the season went on and there were some games that we got behind, we had to kind of abandon the run a little bit, so he didn't end up doing as well as maybe he could have. Amari Cooper, 90 receptions. He doubles the next closest receiver, and that's actually Latavius Murray, the running back, so he does end up with 1,800 total yards, but Amari Cooper, 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. What a season for that rookie. Rod Streeter, 500 yards. We spread the ball around pretty well. Michael Crabtree, 454 yards, and then Latavius Murray and Rivera with 4 touchdowns apiece. On defense, it's Nate Allen and Charles Woodson, the safeties that lead the team in tackles, 138 and 136. TJ Carey, the corner, actually, the next one at 93. Tackles for loss, Khalil Mack, 22 tackles for loss. Curtis Lofton, 19. Smith goes for 18. Ray Armstrong, 13. And Charles Woodson, 12. The last one in double digits. Then we'll move on to sacks. We have 3 guys at the top here. Khalil Mack, Malcolm Smith, and Eldon Smith, all with 7. Justin Tuck with 5.5, Curtis Lofton 4.5. Interceptions, it's going to be Charles Woodson leading the team, 4 picks. And then we'll have Keith McGill with 3, DJ Hayden with 2, and then Ray Armstrong, Nate Allen, and TJ Carey with 1 apiece. So not too many interceptions for us this year. As far as pass deflections, Charles Woodson going to lead the team with 6 there. And then moving on to forced fumbles, it's going to be Eldon Smith leading the team with 4. Khalil Mack going to get 2. And then we'll move on to fumble recoveries. It's 1 each for McGill, Carey, Armstrong, and Tuck. And then we did have 1 safety. Eldon Smith picked up a safety, and then you see 1 touchdown each for those guys on defense as well. Moving on now to kicker, Sebastian Janikowski, 26 of 29. He did very well this season. And then returning Taiwan Jones became a really revelation in the return game, ends up with a kick return and a punt return for a touchdown, so a very good year for him. Now looking at the awards, Russell Smith is going to be your MVP. The Seahawks go 14-2, and he's going to earn the MVP award. Tony Romo and Peyton Manning right behind him. Coach of the year going to be Pete Carroll, 14-2, best record in the league. As you see the guys behind him, Andy Reid, the Chiefs right behind there. AFC Offensive Player of the Year is going to be Peyton Manning. Defensive Player there going to be C.J. Mosley, Paul Puzzlesny right behind him, Carlos Dansby. And then Offensive Rookie of the Year, Melvin Gordon going to win. Beats out Cooper. You'll see in a minute why he maybe beat him out. Marcus Mariota also finishes ahead of Cooper. Defensive, it's Kevin Johnson of the Texans, Bud Dupree, Marcus Peters. Not really going to argue with those. Quarterback of the Year, Peyton Manning. Phillip Rivers behind him. Flacco behind him. Jamal Charles earns Running Back of the Year. Latavius Murray going to finish 3rd. As I said, his production fell off a little bit towards the end of the year. Best wide receiver goes to Brandon LaFell. Amari Cooper finishes 5th. Cannot believe he finished all the way down in 5th. The offensive lineman you see there, defensive lineman Carlos Dunlap. Best linebacker Paul Puzzlesny. Best DB, as we do have a Charles Woodson starting there down in 6th, but it's going to be Will Hill winning that one. Sebastian Janikowski, he's going to be our 1 award winner. He earns Kicker of the Year, and what may be his last season, we'll have to see if he retires. And then looking on the NFC, you see Jameis Winston, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Eric Kendricks, Defensive Rookie of the Year, best QB going to go to Tony Romo, as he actually beats out the MVP Russell Wilson, and you'll see that in a second why that is the case. Des Bryant, best wide receiver. The Cowboys' entire offensive line pretty much finishes at the top of the offensive line award. Jason Pierre-Paul, still with all of his fingers, going to win it. The Defensive Lineman of the Year, linebacker, goes to Navarro Bowman, and then Jerron Power is going to earn DB. Robbie Gould earns the Kicker Award. Now looking at the stats around the league, and you see Tony Romo, 5,300 yards, 41 touchdowns. I really think he should have won the MVP. I think they kind of weigh it because of the win-loss, but you see Russell Wilson all the way down there in touchdowns, only had 3,600 yards. Tony Romo, what a season. How do you not give that guy the MVP award? And you see Drew Brees, 22 interceptions on the season. Dalton Rivers pretty close behind as well. Adrian Peterson is going to lead the league in rushing, 1,676. Murray ends with 1,300. He finishes 4th in rushing. And then you see here, this is what I'm talking about. Melvin Gordon, 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns for him. So you can kind of see why he won the Offensive Rookie of the Year, as we cannot really compete with that. Des Bryant going to lead everyone with 1,700 yards, also has 11 touchdowns. Randall Cobb goes for 1,600, as those are the only 2 guys over 1,500 yards. And then receiving touchdowns, we have Cobb, Fitzgerald, and LaFell with 12. I actually don't understand how Brandon LaFell, 1,300 yards and 12 TDs, won the best wide receiver in the AFC either. On defense, Carlos Dansby, 178 tackles. We got somebody right behind him there with 177. We were all the way back at 138, I think, with Nate Allen. Defensive tackles for loss, they're not showing Khalil Mack there, even though he had the same amount as Ndamukong Suh, 22. And then Powers and Sherman lead the league with 8 interceptions apiece. But now we switch gears, as now it is time to give out our own awards. So we kept track every week of a weekly MVP, and you can see here how that all shook out. And we'll see here in the last part, you see Derek Carr and Amari Cooper ended up getting 3 weekly MVPs apiece. And as far as, I don't want to make a co-MVP, because I think when you look at that, as obviously different factors can shape who earns it each week, but the guy that really showed how good he was all season is Amari Cooper. So I am going to give the 2015 team MVP to Amari Cooper. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with that or not. Derek Carr did have a little bit of a rough patch when he was hurt for a few games, so I think that does kind of hurt him a little bit. Amari Cooper showed up every week. This dude is a monster. Cannot wait to see how he develops. And also, in saying that, he is going to earn another award, Rookie of the Year. That's a very easy one to hand out. Amari Cooper, again, just an unbelievable season for him. Next up, we're going to hand out an Offensive Player of the Year. And this one, I think also kind of a clear winner, because even though he didn't have the greatest season, Latavius Murray ends up with 1,800 total yards. He had 9 rushing touchdowns, 1,300 yards, and then receiving, he is going to add another 500 yards. And I believe 4 touchdowns. Let's see here, 5, 18, and 4 touchdowns. So he has 13 total touchdowns and 1,800 total yards of offense. So he's going to be our offensive MVP. And then we're going to move on to defensive MVP. In this one, we're going to give it to our main man, Charles Woodson. He earns the defensive MVP award. He didn't have the most tackles, 136. He had 12 tackles for loss, also not the most. He did lead the team with 4 interceptions, but this guy, the eternal Charles Woodson, so old, 18 years in the league, but still was able to help this team and actually made some plays to help us win a game or two. So he's going to earn our last award. So now let's move on. Let's take a look at the playoffs. We're actually going to move through the playoffs here. It's going to be Chargers at Bills, Cardinals at Cowboys, Broncos at Texans, Vikings at Packers for the wild card. Let's see the results. It's going to be Chargers defeating the Bills, Carolina losing to the Cowboys, Denver hammering the Texans 34-7, and then Green Bay hammering the Vikings as well. So there are your preseason games. Let's move on to the divisional round. It's going to be Chargers at Ravens, Packers at Seahawks, Broncos at Chiefs, Cowboys at Saints. So let's see the results of these games, and it's going to be Baltimore over San Diego, Green Bay losing by 1 to Seattle, Kansas City beats Denver 38-30. So is that Peyton Manning's last shot at a Super Bowl or another Super Bowl? Dallas is going to be the Saints. So it's Chiefs at Ravens, Cowboys at Seahawks for the conference championships. And who's going to the Super Bowl? It's going to be Kansas City and the Seahawks. So interesting. Tony Romo cannot lead the Cowboys to the Super Bowl. He fails once again. So here we go, Seahawks at Chiefs for the Super Bowls. Put your picks in now. Who's it going to be? It's the big game, Super Bowl 50. Too bad we couldn't make it into Super Bowl 50. Maybe next season for Super Bowl 51. I wouldn't count on it, but we'll see. But here we go. Let's see who's going to win it. And it's going to be the Seahawks. Big, 41-13. We saw how good that Chiefs team was, especially in Week 17. I think they had Alex Smith back, but apparently the Seahawks had no problem winning yet another Super Bowl. So there it is. That is season number 1 in our connected franchise. We took a look around the league. We took a look at our own stats, the league awards. We handed out our own awards. Let me know in the comments down below, once again, who you feel should have been the award winners for our own awards we handed out. But that is the end of Season 1. So from here, we're going to move on to the off season. First up is going to be re-signing players. I'll make that one episode. Then we're going to move on and we're going to go to the free agency. I'm going to try and make that a separate episode, and then the draft a separate episode. I'm going to try and dive a little deeper into each area. So that's why I'm splitting it up instead of just doing one big abbreviated episode. So that's what you have to look forward to. I'm excited to get into this off season, really change this team, mold it into the winner that I think it can be. Obviously, we have a lot of talent. An 8-8 season, not too shabby. Above my own expectations. I didn't think we'd win 8 games, but we have a lot to look forward to, a lot to work with, and I cannot wait to get to this offseason and get on to season number 2. So if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like. I'd really appreciate it, and subscribe to see any future videos that I make. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.